Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm dear Myrt, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to Mondays with Myrt, where we talk about anything and everything that's come across our Genia desk during the last 2 weeks since last we met. This is our last Mondays with Myrt for 2025. Our next one will be the 5th of January, and I'm already scheduling special guests through the end of January. Years ago, Mr. Myrt and I would traditionally take off from about the 8th or 10th of the month of December until the first Monday in January, thinking that we'd take time off because of the holidays and family visiting and things like that. But actually, you end up doing a lot of planning for the upcoming year, and that's what's in the mix for me. Let's see what's going on with people on the YouTube side. And by the way, thank you, Sherry, for being our ringmaster over there, keeping people in line today. I know it's hard, but somebody's got to do it. Oh, and there's Miles. And Miles is going to be a new permanent Mondays with Myrt panelist. And remember, Miles, that if you want to join the panel today, which you're more than welcome to come in, you'll need to use the link that's in our private Facebook chat. Gwenny's here saying, working on handmade Christmas cards and Christmas sewing. I had just yesterday finished the quilt top for my best friend from elementary school. And I'm ready to put it on my new long arm today. So you and I are doing parallel play. There we go. Hi, Becky. So good to see you from Michigan. Um, okay. Let's see what else. Oh, there's somebody else here from, well, there's a lot of things going on. Of course, Randy's here in the wing, so Sherry's there helping. Notice she has that little gear next to her name, that little crescent wrench. That means she has full power, absolute power over there. So mind your P's and Q's. I know you guys are wonderful. And Hillary's here. We are in the middle of king tide and heavy rain. So we are expecting flooding all over, like on the low part of the island. You have to go through this low part to come up to where we are at 85 feet. So I may have to use the backwoods way if I need to go to town today. Frank's here. 53 degrees Fahrenheit. It's that chilly in Germany. Gosh, crazy. And Ellen's here. Um, now that's a good idea, is to head south. And Hillary, Ellen, you'll have to tell me, do they call them snowbirds? Those that come from Canada and the northern states to warm weather in Arizona. That's what we called them in Florida. We called them snowbirds because they'd fly away from the snow up north. Let me know when you come back up on the panel. So Karen is here. Welcome. Bill Moore is here. Bill, I got to get you on this panel for a visit. See what we could talk about. Our favorite subject of genealogy. Hi, Bev. And there's our Jane from Richmond, Virginia. Oh, I love Richmond. I've been to several conferences there. NGS, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. And here's Kathleen. Now, I wonder if Bobby's out there. Bobby, you were the one that last time won a copy of this book, and I want to be sure you got the book, your Stripped Bare Guide to Citing and Using History Sources by Elizabeth Shown Mills. This is important because our book club will start in January. And Randy, could you please put the link out to the YouTube side for the panelist form, the application form? I need some panelists. We are going to meet every other week for 4 sessions to tackle this great book by Elizabeth Shown Mills. I think this should be standard fare to have on your bookshelf. I know that Evidence Explained, I'm going to break my wrist, is her big book of citations, but this explains the logic very succinctly. Let's put it that way. All right, I've tried to recognize everybody, but good golly, Miss Molly, got a lot of people here. Hello from North Carolina, says Jane. And hi, Valerie. Man, you and I have known each other since the old AOL genealogy forum days. I love it. Big Burma is there. So Betty Lou, so glad to see you. Let's see what else is happening. We've just got a million people. Well, not exactly a million, but we're there. All right, let's bring the rest of the panelists up so we can talk with them. Yeah, it's all good. Thank you. All right, let me zoom in a little bit more. That's better. Okay, so we have Randy. Let's test your mic, kiddo.
Testing, testing.
It's working. We had a lot of fun playing around with our microphones in the
I was
green room
typing.
earlier.
Sorry.
Oh, yeah, it's good. Ellen, you got it?
Testing, testing.
Good.
Froggy.
Okay. So Randy's in California. You're in Arizona, Ellen.
And
Hillary, pardon?
we are snowbirds.
Oh, you are snowbirds. They do call them snowbirds. Yep. Okay, I get it. Hillary, our gal in Wales. Her research is in England, though. And somebody did something on their computer, so we did a good job of hearing you try to do something in Windows. Yeah, we get that bling sound. And then Frank, our guy who is going to get a sunburn if he doesn't take it easy there in Germany. I don't know.
It's
So
way
why
too warm
does
here.
I know. So why does old Myrt spend this time like 5 minutes talking to people like this? I guess it's 15. I want to lower the stress level when we talk about climbing our family trees. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be interesting. And sometimes we get so caught up in it and trying to prove beyond the shadow of a doubt with reliable sources, etc. But we have to remember it's also fun. And I want you in the audience, those of you who are attending, and all of us on the panel, to feel comfortable and relaxed so you can ask the questions that we don't necessarily have time to get to when you go to your local genealogy society meeting. All right. Well, now we are going to have Sean Lamb join us in just a moment. Let me pull up the link to his blog post that we're going to be talking about today. He had a very interesting post. Go ahead and pull Sean up. Sean, thank you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today.
Thanks
It's
for
always,
having me.
yeah, it's good to have a guest, isn't it? So the link that has that whoops, we've got the book club link, and now we need to get the link to Sean's post. Sean, you tell me that this is your most popular post to date.
It is,
Um,
yeah.
and while we're working on getting the link, tell us give us the title and talk to me about what got you going, what got under your skin.
hmm Well, I've been looking up my family history this week. Since my mother just passed in September, I've been a
Oh,
little more interested in it this year.
mm-hmm.
um, and I was looking at one of my lines through my dad's ancestry, through the Horn line, and they're from Virginia and North Carolina area.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I started looking into that because one of my favorite family names is on that line, Orrin Carstarphin Horn.
Oh my gosh, that should be easy to research. It sounds like an
Should
unusual.
be. And it took me like 20 years before I realized Carstarphin is probably his mother's maiden name. And then I
Oh,
finally made that connection, and yes, it was. And that brought me a connection all the way back to someone, I think it was James Corstorphine or Robert Corstorphine, who was at the Battle of Culloden Moor.
Oh my golly.
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was looking at this family, and I've specifically found a published genealogy on archive.org called the Battle Book, which is all about it's a genealogy of the Battle family. And one of Orrin's, I think it's his grandfather, married Sarah Battle. So he's mentioned, or his father is mentioned in that book. So I was researching in that book, and that was late 1600s and 1700s. And that, of course, is before the U.S. was a country.
Right.
So
Yeah.
everything in there, and it was written in 1930. So it was closer to the time, and there were passages in it that were written closer to 1822. So it was closer to the time that people knew what that place was called, and they just referred to it as North Carolina or Virginia, and there was no country name on it.
Right.
And that got me thinking, a lot of times in a lot of databases we see a colony name followed by British Colonial America, as if it was a country. And British Colonial America was never a country name specifically.
Totally get that.
It's a great descriptor of the area and the time period, but it's not a country name. And the database software that we use now doesn't specifically require country names in our place names. I use Roots Magic, and I've been using it for, I think, 5 or 6 versions. So I'm using version 11 now.
And, me too.
Yeah, and it's for locations. It's got place and place details, and that's it. And you can write as much as you want in the place and in the place details. And since British Colonial America was not a country name, there is no requirement to put that in there.
Yeah, it would make searching, and it would you wouldn't find it if you search it. Trying to pair up with something. I think it skews the search engine capability of our software when connecting and doing research. I want to pull the panelists up. First of all, I'm sharing the view, as you can see, to your post over on Substack. I love Substack. There is some really good research being talked about and written about over here without benefit of intrusive advertising, etc. And I can actually find the people like you that I subscribe to. So kudos to Barbara at Project Kin, whom I think is flying home today. Kitty, you got to get off. You got to get down. Thank you, sweetheart. Oh, anyway. Yeah, Betty Lou is saying she never thought to use British Colonial America because her family landed in New Amsterdam. Yeah, and my family, my early Quakers, they didn't come to British Colonial America. They came to Pennsylvania. And you can tell by the dates in a database like Roots Magic that, yeah, you're talking organization of the United States, pre-1776. Yeah, we can't go to an archive called British Colonial America, but we can go to an archive in Pennsylvania or an archive in Virginia. And New Amsterdam, you'd have to do a little research to discover that was in New York. It was in the place known colloquially and upsettingly for Sean and me and others as British Colonial America, as opposed to, the French influence in New Orleans, Louisiana, or the Spanish influence it's just not a country. So there is a question. I'm going to pull the panelists up here. What would you use instead, Sean?
I've gotten to where I'm not even putting a country name if there isn't a country name to begin with. So if all I've got is the colony name, that's what I put. So for the Horn family, they were in North Carolina, as a colony, it's North Carolina, and there is no country name above that. There could be, you could say England or well, it wasn't really United Kingdom yet.
Right.
You could put that.
No, wait, Hillary has a comment. We'll take her next. Just a second.
Yeah, and other people know more about that than I do, and I'm just starting into my research on that part. But yeah, I could put that, but I'm putting it as accurate as I can according to what the people of the time were writing down.
Okay, panelists, let's take Hillary. First of all, you were reacting for a minute there to UK and when that went into use, I think.
Yeah, United Kingdom didn't come into use at all until 1801. And before that, there was Great Britain, but we don't tend to use it that much. But there was Great Britain from somewhere in 1700 and something, and that. But we would tend to refer to all of our countries in the United Kingdom under their individual countries. We wouldn't tend to put United Kingdom on there. We don't have to put United Kingdom on there. Sometimes people will use it, but we don't use it as a rule.
Okay, so when we're talking about our databases, there's a locality for the birth, for the christening, for the wedding, for the any other kind of events like purchase of land or whatever. There's a field for each one. So it isn't like if you like I had a guy that he got land after the American Revolution in Virginia, but it ended up being Kentucky. Because initially Virginia went all the way from the Atlantic Ocean to the Mississippi River, and he never moved once he got to that land with his family. Okay, more feedback from the panelists, and then we'll see what the community on YouTube has to say. Yes, Randy.
Who were the rulers of the colonies in America, whether it's in Canada now or in US now or Spanish America, whatever? Who were the rulers? Our standards for decades has been you put the different jurisdictions of people of entities that may have made laws. Okay, so I think that England probably made the laws for all of our colonies in the U.S. And Canada, except for the French ones, of course.
And the Florida ones.
It makes sense to say British Colonial America or Massachusetts Bay, and in parentheses British Colony, something like that. That makes sense to me because it was the British soldiers that were representing the crown. So it's a difficult issue, and it's even worse, of course, in places like Germany where you got 47 principalities.
Yeah. Okay. I'm
hearing
every
you. 10 years, yeah.
Hillary.
Yeah, I put a link in the chat in the thing there because
private chat.
No, on the YouTube side. I looked it up on the National Archives, and because I put Virginia in, and it's under North American colonies in the National Archives catalogue, which is presumably how they have it catalogued, anything that they've done in that area. So it's just because they then lump everything together as North American colonies, because they then had colonies in other places as well. So that makes sense.
Okay, so that was how they cataloged the filing of their records, and they were the National Archives, TNA, which is different from our National Archives in the U.S. And I'm so glad we have an international audience for this discussion. They're the ones that are archiving the records. There's a difference. What does it say on the document? What does it say on the document at the time? Sean, you're listening to this conversation that you instigated. It's your fault. What's your reaction so far? And then we'll get to Ellen and Frank and some things. And also, Hillary, would you give me that link in the private chat so I can pull it up?
Yeah.
Well, first thing I'll say is that I'm not the first person that I know of to come up with this as a premise. Yeah. I've seen it mentioned on a couple of genealogy forums before, and I agree with it that British Colonial America should not be used as a country name. As far as I'm concerned, like I said earlier, whatever the people of the time used, that's what we should be using in our databases. We can put in the notes for the place, because Roots Magic has a different set of fields and records for place names, and we can put notes on all of those place names, pointing them directly to where they are now, including GPS coordinates. We can put those on there so that we can translate that to what it is today. But in the record, on the person record, we should list what it was at the time of the event.
So with my ancestor, I don't need to update the field of his birth from Virginia to. I don't need to change it to Kentucky because at the time it was Virginia for the birth. I'm sorry, my phone is just, but it's. I don't know. I'm on somebody's list today. I'm going to ignore my phone. Now I saw, Frank, that you were shaking your head yes when Sean said something. Talk to me, Frank.
Yeah, I would actually do it the same as John suggested. Writing down what is written in the source, make a note what that place is called today. And especially for my research, which is centered in Eastern Prussia, I would write down what the place is called today, specifically the writing, because nowadays it can be Polish, it can be Russian, it can be whatever.
You're totally right.
And then obviously where to find the sources.
Yeah. So this reminds me because hi, Louis. Good to see you, more or less. I saw this scroll by where he said Russian Empire works just about fine on everything he's doing. But that was different places at different times.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. And I agree with Randy on that, too, that it's a challenge. It's crazy to say to add Germany after my Conrad Weiser's birth in Gross Aschbach. Well, that was his hometown. I can't remember. He was in Württemberg because his father is in the dragoons, and the family went with the soldier. Oddly enough, apparently that's a thing. I don't know. Yeah, because it wasn't Germany in 1696 when Johann Conrad Weiser was born. Yeah, I think it was 1876 when with Kaiser Wilhelm or something, when it all became Germany. I'm not sure. We need a German historian here. Okay, Ellen, unmute yourself, darling. Thank you. So what is your take on this discussion? And then we'll try to get through all these great comments from people.
The only thing that I've had to deal with in Canada for my family is Upper Canada, and then the Western provinces. They weren't provinces until.
Okay, we're losing you. Okay, I'm sending you a headset. That's it. It'll help.
Okay, I opened my screen, my laptop, so maybe that helps. Does that help?
Okay, you're perfect. We can hear you now.
Yeah, I forget to do that. So we mostly dealt with Upper Canada in regards to Ontario, and then the Western provinces, of course, were they didn't come on board until 1905 for Alberta. So I usually go with what Sherry said, where I use whatever's on the document as a place.
And then you can do what Sean suggested,
Yeah.
which is to use the notes option on your genealogy software to fill in the blanks about where you might actually find the records now.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it's part of your citation for that event as well, for that document that you found. Okay, Miles is helping me. Boy, am I glad you're going to be a regular panelist. Unification of Germany was 1871. I had the right decade at least. Okay. So Hillary, we do need to know the current name so we know where to find the records. And part of why, let me share the screen to show you the link that for brand recognition. The National Archives catalog, this is the link you gave us for the records of the Colonial Office Commonwealth. Oh my gosh, I really need to zoom in so you can see it. It just happens that we know that the National Archives has these records. It makes sense that they would. But then there's a whole difference between who's got the actual record, the actual text document, and who's got it online digitally. That does not need to be, that needs to be in notes or in your citation that you saw it at the National Archives or you saw something at Find My Past that had to do with your English ancestor, etc. Okay, we got a lot of comments. Let's get through these. 1 second here. We'll pull this back. Thank you. So Gwenny is saying I have the Netherlands. It was part of Germany. And does anyone know the early, the 1600s or 1700s for that? Now, one of the ways, Gwenny, that you can answer your own question is to go to the wiki at familysearch.org. It's under search, research wiki. Should we do that? Family search. I'll log in. The reason being, they're very good in their descriptions of a place to let you know what the previous place was. Like if you go to a certain state or not province, I know this for a state, it will tell you what the parent state was or the parent county, as it's a challenge. It certainly is. Okay, you have something to say, Sean, about the current name.
Yeah, I saw a post in the chat that you only need to know what the current place is, what the place is known as currently. I would disagree with that partly. Knowing where it is now can help you as a starting point for which databases to go to, but knowing what it was called then, you have a better idea of what to look for.
I think we have to know it all. We have to be a know-it-all. I agree. Let's see. Okay, and Randy, get this in on the recording.
Yeah, I have ancestry in Norfolk County, Massachusetts. Now, that wasn't formed until 1793. And before that, all the records, land and probate especially, are in Suffolk County, which it was formed from. So so I have entries for Medfield, Suffolk County, Massachusetts Bay Colony, before 1793, and Medfield, Norfolk County, Massachusetts, United States, for after 1793.
Okay. It's rare that, and this happened actually in, I learned this in Florida. It used to be that the county that includes Tampa and St. Pete went all the way to the county boundaries extended all the way to the middle of the state. Well, when part of the county was divided off and made into its own county in the interior part of Florida, somebody went through and copied all the land records. the clerk did. I don't know if it was the clerk at that county or in the old county or the clerk in the new county. And so you will find things in the new county records that predate what happened and was recorded initially in the whatever county it is for Tampa. But what is that new record book in the new county? It's a derivative work, isn't it? A derivative work can have transcription errors and omissions. Challenging, but you're right. Okay.
An original record can have errors also.
Well, that's true. And one thing like a death record can have great information about death, but be incorrect for who the parents are or what the birth date was. Yeah, we could go on and on. All right. Let me share my screen and show you how to find the research wiki. We haven't done this for a while at Family Search. Let me zoom in just a tad. And I do this to give you, whoops, that's too far in. We lost our menu bar. I happen to be LDS, so I will have things for ordinance work that I could do at the temple. You may not have that. Okay, click search. And then down here is the research wiki. Takes a second for it to come up. So rather than just talk about things like the research wiki, Mondays with Myrt tries to help beginners understand. It's taken a heck of a while to load. There we go. I want to take you to the website we just spoke about in the National Archives, or in this case, the Research Wiki, where you can search by topic or by place, or even learn how to do research here. I've had people write to me in the past and say, I need help with Ohio. And I would actually take the time and type in Ohio and give them the link to the Ohio research outline. These used to be in paper format, but it's much better this way. And within an hour or so, they'd write back and I'd say, well, there's nothing there about my family. No, it isn't. We're not searching by name. We're searching to understand what is that locality and what types of records have survived from that state. Here's the clickable map for getting you specifically to a county. And there they are listed in link form. Interestingly enough, are the defunct jurisdictions. Let me zoom in more again. And migration routes, but I want to talk about these. There was a place called the Connecticut Western Reserve, or the Virginia Military District, or the U.S. Military District. And I picked Ohio on purpose because the land, the military bounty land may in fact say that someone was entitled to property in the Virginia Military District of Ohio. Well, you need to understand about that. And that's what you would be putting for the locality under the notations that you might make in your genealogy software that our panelists are suggesting. Come on in. There you go. Here's information about it, that it had to do with the Revolutionary War, and that Virginia had the claims to much of the Northwest Territory, et cetera, and you could go from there. Oh, good. We've got our guy, Miles. He has entered the building, and so has our Jill. We got all the usual suspects. Welcome, Miles, to Mondays with Myrt. Let's hear your mic.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. You do not need to mute or unmute yourself. When you're up on the stage, it will automatically unmute you. Jill, I just recommended your prep class for certification to somebody.
Great.
A gal that's going to be retiring and wants to get serious about it. So,
well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much for doing that.
Well, I can now recommend it having gone through it and recognize the value of it.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so welcome back. All right.
Thanks.
So Valerie says, I'm going to get through these comments from people. Family Search Wiki has become very robust, definitely a go-to resource, especially when you start research in a new area. Check too if you haven't been there to look at the wiki. They actually spend time with their employees at Family Search Library in Salt Lake, figuring out how they can build out this area with more information. The wiki in particular. Yeah. And since we're talking Ohio, along the Ohio Trail, from the auditor of the state, that's like something you can get. You must get that. You're absolutely right. All right, let me go way back up here. Okay. So Betty Lou is saying, I guess I never, oh, we did get that one. Sherry, hi Sherry. Again, struggle with the place names for Mayflower ancestors. I have used Massachusetts Bay Colony. That's what it says on the document. And there's a logic to that. Frank, yeah, there's a logic to that. Sean, I understand that. But we probably would find the records at the Massachusetts Archives, State Archives, or the, I don't know where you'd find it because I don't do Massachusetts research. I would also consider the National Archives.
Yeah, I have a few that came through Massachusetts and a few Mayflower that I'm also researching as well. So Family Search suggested that I'm descended from John Howland, the guy that fell off the ship. And when I told family about that, they said, okay, that's natural. Of course he'd fall off.
Yeah, and that alone, that's proof positive, right? I love that. So Marcia asked a good question. Would we really need to put colony of?
I will put the word colony if the document says the word colony.
Otherwise in notes?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's plenty of places to put lots of extended notes in the database.
Oh, totally. We used to be limited to X amount of characters, and it's infinite now that we have terabytes of hard drive space, even on a laptop.
That character limit is one of the reasons I went to a program called the Master Genealogist way back in the day.
Oh, and we miss him, don't we?
Yeah, and that was probably my favorite software so far. Roots Magic is very close to it. There are a few things that just little snickety things that I don't like, but overall for software that's still being produced and maintained, that's my go-to right now because it does not limit us on characters.
Absolutely. And it can handle foreign character sets, which some other software, mainstream software, cannot do. Okay. And Betty Lou has a problem because of her people in Aosta. I don't know how to say Aosta. That's in Italy, I think. Italy didn't become unified until 1859, so it's the same problem as the Germany as an ender, as a locality. Again, let's do what's on the document. But in notes, that's where you can put this information should somebody follow your research thinking and want to continue to do more work there. That, it's Italy, but the way it got cataloged at Family Search or an Ancestry is their thinking of how to organize things, just like the National Archives that link that we looked at that Hillary provided. Okay. Yes.
Myrt,
Yeah, jump in.
The problem is actually, especially for ancestry, and I have seen it at Family Search also, quite the other way around. So that sometimes Family Search and ancestry wants to put a country at the end, which doesn't existed back then.
Exactly.
For example, Germany, Italy, etc. And this is the problem, I think, that Bedelou opens up here, because obviously they want to put a marker on a map for their own databases, but it doesn't match what you want to enter.
Yeah, I still agree with what Sean says, that put the name as it was for that place on on the document in question, and you can have conflicts just for one document or one event with different documents that name it something different, but you would also, that's what notes are for. So Linda is, hi Linda. In Family Tree Maker, it assumes that the last item listed in the location is the country name. What would you use for a country name before the U.S. became a country? What would we do, Sean?
If the highest political entity that I know is the colony name, that's the highest political entity that I put in.
Yes.
So, for example, going back to the Horn family, they list Nansemond County, North Carolina, and that's as far as they go. When it was still a colony, or before the U.S. was formed, I just put Nansemond County, North Carolina.
So years ago, Randy and I and Cousin Russ and a bunch of other nuts spent hours and hours updating our locality list. And one of the things that I inadvertently did was add Germany, not knowing the 1871 that Miles reminded me of. And I'm having, when I run across it, to have to compare that locality to the date in question of the event and take out Germany if it's before that 1871 time period. Because it's not, I did not follow a rule then when I was only looking at my database based on the locality list, and that there were 3 different types of entries for that particular place in what is now known as Germany, where the first time I put something in, I abbreviated part of the name because that's what it was in the document. And then I'm not perfect on data entry either. Yeah. So leave it blank.
Yeah.
Don't put US.
That, a lot of us did that when we were starting out with our research. We put what it is currently, and that's not always the correct thing to put. Mm-hmm. I'm just starting into Germany research as well, because my daughter-in-law, her family is mostly German. So there's a lot more that I need to learn about that part of the world now too.
Oh, I know. We have to keep learning stuff. It's just driving us nuts. I know. Okay. And Sherry's saying, I always lean to the place name at the time the record was created. And Stephanie, you heard me. I sent you a private message this morning. In the description in sourcing, should there be a note added that within the documented user notes explaining the area known as British Colonial America, or whatever the location was known at the time? Okay. Yeah, you can be as verbose as you need to explain what you did for yourself, not just for those that follow later. I think, is that a fair statement? What do you think, panel? Sean, you get to speak first because you're our guest. Everybody else, I just treat them like yeah. Okay.
So the way I do it is a little different, but likewise, like Sean was saying is that oftentimes when I was beginning, I didn't take as much care. But I've also kind of gotten to the position of where if my easiest one to explain, and Frank will kind of understand this, is my Ostfriesians. My Ostfriesians are from a very tiny area in northern Germany. I could call them Prussian, but the problem is that they're a really small subset of Prussia. And I really don't want to use the bigger Prussia. I want to bring it down to that. So I want people to know that it's this really tiny little area that's not even most of the time its own jurisdiction. So throughout the entire thing, I'm still thinking about, okay, my reader, if they pick this up, they'll know at a much smaller scale where this guy is from. The other approach I take is that I don't get wrapped around the axle on it at all, mainly because I'm writing articles. I'm not relying on my database to be printed out and published. Oh my God, that'd be awful. But I count on it to supply me with the information I've gathered and a good enough citation. And my citations are really good, actually. But a citation that will get me to the right location so I can relook at that particular document. Because I'm going to have to relook at it anyway. I cannot not look at it when I'm writing an article. So I view it a little bit differently and a little looser than some. And probably I shouldn't, but I do.
Well, there's no shouldn't. It's your database.
Right.
And in the days when we did print things out, I had 112 surname notebooks. Some of them had multiple surnames in a notebook, but they were all alphabetically lined up. And at the beginning of each surname, I would explain what I did or what my thinking was. Like you explained how you were using your database. Or Sean is explaining, you may have heard this called the British Colonial America, but I'm just calling it North Carolina because I can't go to the archives of British Colonial America. Well, actually you could, but that's not what the National Archives of the UK is actually called. And it might not have the records. It might be that North Carolina has it. Yes, Randy. You're muted, darling. You're muted.
Still muted.
Yeah. I'll unmute you. I can't. There you go.
Where are the laws for North Carolina in, say, 1700 located? I think they're probably in the National Archives in England, right? I think that's where the laws are.
I don't.
I still, think that we need to recognize who the king is of each of these entities.
Because that political or legal jurisdiction that it had over that place at that time is that's where we are hoping to find documents. Certainly we need to look at what's happening in Pennsylvania. Colonial records are kept at the Pennsylvania State Archives, which have been published in a huge collection. They've been transcribed and published starting in 1820-ish in the published Pennsylvania archives. So I don't know that the answer is definitely the colonial records for North Carolina are like that. I don't do research there. Sean, you're going to have to come back. Tell us what you learned. All right. Just
as
a couple
more, yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate it. John is right. My friend John, I think you are from Ohio. Software should offer the two sets of place name fields, one for the name at the time and the other for the name today. Well, in effect, we're using the notes option to tell us that. It's just so we can't see it on the individual data entry or summary screen.
Well, that's actually one thing that I like with the Roots Magic is that in the Places tab, it lists all the place names that you've typed out in the records, but it also has for each one, it has the GPS coordinates and the list of what it's known as today.
Yeah, it's very good. So Paula is saying, I haven't read this, so it is like when we have counties change, dividing up, such as Stanley County, North Carolina, was created in 1840 something from Montgomery. So people born before that are noted in Montgomery, but anyone born after that, they're in Stanley. And yeah, and it has to do with they could still be going to the same church, because I'm sure they weren't keeping public vital records in 1840s in North Carolina, unlike if you have Connecticut ancestry, etc. Those they were early adopters of public vital record keeping, weren't they, in New England? All right. Anything else that starred? Let me see. I think I have two that are here. Okay, this one from Sherry. Cousin Russ had suggested in Family Tree Maker that you create a custom fact like historical location. Now, that's a good point, Sherry, because our previous commenter said, couldn't we just have two different lines, database lines, as opposed to in the description part? And that place name on the fact would then use the map function. Yeah, because part of this too is, Jill's using her database as a reference point for her compiled genealogy. So when she wants to write about something, she can refer to it and get to the documents, etc. Cousin Russ and I would take research trips together with our spouses, and we wanted to be on that place where our ancestors, our common ancestors, contributed to the building of this church in Maryland, or this place in Chester County, Pennsylvania. So that's a different use where you're using your database, so you could print out, okay, I'm going to Pennsylvania, Chester County, tell me all the people that were there according to my database, so that I can possibly look for their tombstone, which doesn't work in Germany, Frank, because after 30 or 40 years, the tombstones go to the side and they reuse that unless it's a famous person. There's exceptions to everything. Thank you for that, Sherry, and for that reference to our good old cousin Russ. And then Louis says, Poland is terrible. It expanded, it contracted, it changed hands and boundaries almost continuously. It's parts of what is now the Ukraine, and I need to say Ukraine, not the Ukraine, were in Poland before the world wars. I know. We end up being great historians, theoretically, hopefully, possibly, trying to keep up with this. And that's another reason to study more than just documents that might have survived. We have to get the actual timeline of history and the cultural history of what's going on in that place.
And Myrtle, I posted.
You can just call me Myrt. You're a friend.
Yeah, Myrt. And I posted in the YouTube chat the research places link for family search, because just like with Poland, every time those boundaries changed, they changed the name of the town. They adjusted the spelling.
Oh, I know. Yeah.
So the research places off of family search will give you all the alternate spellings and the timelines for those spellings.
Okay. So, excellent work, guys. Sean, tell me about your computer days.
Well, before my old career was actually computer science and database programming. So there was always categorization problems, and that's what I consider these to be. There are category edge cases. The whole world doesn't fit into the categories like the computer wants them to fit into, which is really the basis of this discussion. We're trying to fit strange things, according to the computer, into modern terminology. And these are the edge cases.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. You can't fit a square peg into a round hole. It just doesn't work.
I agree completely with Sean on that one. That's a problem with anytime I deal with a family that is in, which is almost all my families are in small villages, that the place is so important. This tiny little place is so important. It might have 4 houses in it, but that oftentimes our software won't print that location out because it's a descriptor. It's not a place. And so I end up putting the village name, I hate to call it even a village, the farm cluster name, in the long string of the geographic locations as high as, Germany as the largest jurisdiction, all the way down to the parish level and even to the farm cluster level, because if I don't, you won't be able to find my guy.
Yeah.
So I think Sean's exactly right. You've got to really figure out what's important for your reader to get to know and for you to know to be able to find them again.
Right. Totally get this. What a discussion we've had. All right. And Valerie agrees with you. Make the software work for you, not struggle with the software's limitations. Okay, sounds interesting. All right, folks, the thing that happened with Miles and the feedback that you got when he turned on his mic is something that we dealt with afterwards. Miles, I'll talk to you about how to resolve that. So in the future, we won't be getting feedback. It has to be.
That was my fault. I had the YouTube going as I was trying to get into the link. I didn't want to miss the discussion on YouTube while I was waiting in the waiting room.
Okay. Sounds like a plan.
Yep.
Oh no, we're still getting that. So your mic is too close to your. It's another story.
I have a fan on my
All right,
CPU.
so go ahead and mute yourself here in rather than in line on your computer. Mute yourself using this software so I know where you are. Okay, that's just a technical thing. All right, where are we? I'm going to the docket. First of all, Sean, absolute kudos to you for showing up today and for spearheading this discussion. I hope, folks, that you will go to Sean's Substack. Let me bring that up again. And subscribe to his channel. You can see that I am subscribed. It's called Finding the Flock. And I'm sure that we've already shared the link with you. Yeah, you're going to have to actually pin this post because that's your most popular post to date. I think that's wonderful. Okay. Now we'll go to our docket and see what's next. By the way, did anybody see what Blaine Bettinger posted this morning about the use of ancestry DNA in solving crimes? There was a New York Times article reporting what they consider to be a problem. Let me pull it up. Panelists, jump in here if you are ready.
All I can say is that I saw it. I didn't have a chance to read it. I'm on grandparent duty.
Oh, okay. So you may have to leave at a very moment's notice. We understand.
I'm on pickup duty for the elementary school today.
Oh, okay. Well, I love that. I'm excited for you. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen. This is the post that, whoops, let's close this thing off. This is the post that Blaine made publicly. He didn't put it in a IGG or any kind of a. He wanted the world to know how he felt about it. Ancestry changed their terms of service, and this was because of this post at the New York Times. Somebody's already shared that link. The New York Times article went into a lot of details about how they were closing the use of their website from law enforcement, And the accusations in comments that were to the New York Times post was that Ancestry just did that because they want, people are supposing that Ancestry wants law enforcement to go through the progenealogist people. And that's not the right link. I have the wrong link. And that is not true. He did not feel that that was at all true. Here's the gift article from the New York Times. I'll pull that up. And the author is really, okay, this is a gift link that you should be able to get to. The author of this, I don't know why people have to post things within the hour of Mondays with Myrt going live. They were very negative about it. Well, they tried to be reasonable, but the comments were negative about it. I want to know what the panelists think about the use of AI in or DNA rather. Sorry, wrong technology in solving cold case files like the Golden Gate, Golden State, and C.C. Moore's work. Talk to me about that. I would like to hear about it.
I can't imagine you wouldn't use the tool. I mean, I don't get it. Why you wouldn't? I sit there and look at the stack of sexual rapes that they have that they haven't even gotten to, and I go, here's a way to be able to get to it easily. I just don't understand why you wouldn't use it. Use what tools you had available to solve crimes.
I feel that way. Some people are very protective of it, and I understand and appreciate their right to privacy. And it isn't that I'm a criminal or that my brother is a criminal. It could be 4 generations back and then come down on one of my collateral lines. And even if there was a possible match, they still have to get direct evidence.
That's right. And DNA is indirect evidence. So that, as you mentioned, you've got to find, you might be able to get to the family, and that's direct evidence, but after that, it's all indirect. So you've got to have a lot more other evidence to be able to get there, to get to that point. If it was my brother who committed a crime, well, darn it, he ought to fess up to it, so I don't even care if it's my brother.
Yeah.
So it's a matter to me of the victim. Let's focus on the victim instead of focusing on the perpetrator.
Yeah. This is about DNA. It is about DNA and the use of ancestry databases of relation documents that indicate familial relationships, but it's DNA that drives it. But even so, if C.C. Moore were to present a case with it, we think it's this person or his brother, that means the police have to do their direct evidence of finding that brother's DNA separate from the other brother. And it could be in a discarded cigarette butt or a cup of tea, something like that.
So is Ancestry suggesting that if they want to use census records, they should go to Family Search, they're ubiquitous. You can get them in a lot of places. Are they suggesting that if it's a business record of some kind that only they have, that I bet they're not the only location. So you just have to go to the repository that has that. Mm-hmm. I don't know. It seems overly restrictive. Or are they just seeking subscriptions? I don't know. It just seems odd to me that they would restrict that.
Well, the people that are doing the research, the law enforcement people, etc., have their own subscriptions already. So Louis agrees with us. You don't have to agree with us, but it was good. Kathleen also says, if it's someone in my line, go get them. It's about consent for the DNA submitter and law enforcement doing things legally with warrants. Now, one of the things that the New York Times article points out, I mean, because that makes perfect sense what Deb is saying. But it is also very difficult to get warrants. Not every jurisdiction not every judge understands it. I can remember when the first cases about other things, like other new emerging technology, like where the judge didn't understand something because it was not something he studied in law school. You know, it can be problematic. Yeah, law enforcement not following the law sets precedents that erode the rights. And that is a very important comment, Deb. Very important. Yeah, all it does is narrow the suspect list. And GEDmatch allows us to opt in or out regarding police use. Yeah.
So I think there's two parts to it, right? There's the DNA part where they can only use, family tree DNA or GEDmatch to find who they think could be the family. But then they need records and things to build the trees to figure out where the criminal may fall in the tree.
Yeah, and you usually, because the most recent common ancestors 4 generations back are usually already building the tree in order to get down to a suspect family or a suspect specific to recommend to law enforcement. And you are using not only the DNA tree, but the documents that you can find.
So, I mean,
anywhere.
Just so people understand, the law enforcement can't use ancestry DNA to discover,
No.
But they have been using the records to build the trees, which I don't think is wrong.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the problems that the article wanted to point out. They can't use the sources by ancestry per se, as they don't have the rights to do so because of ownership rights, copyright protection acts, and so on. So they have to go to the archives themselves, and they don't want to do that. They want to have a letter of approval to simply scroll all of the database.
Yeah, they want to. It's hard not to use technology. So Joanne says she put her DNA on GEDmatch to be used. I agree. These families should have answers. A lot of people are agreeing with Ellen's point of view, and I think it's a good topic, something to consider. I am very open about it. I'm like Jill. If it were my brother, I wouldn't. I mean, for his sake too, he needs to own up. And he needs to suffer the consequences. And I love my brother, even though he used to pick on me when we were kids.
I'm not throwing my brother under the bus either. But,
yeah, I hear you.
But I think also people don't realize how public all this information is. Yeah. I mean, it's incredibly public.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about privacy, but the reality is I can find out if you're all about your house and how much you paid and how much you got left and whether or not you paid your taxes for this time and where you've lived. And I can find out all your age. I can find all of that and not use Ancestry.
Yeah.
I love it when I have a client and they are from the US because it's open season, really. It's so easy to find information. It's a little harder in Canada.
It's a little harder in Canada, but let me tell you, Sweden, it's like, they post their birth certificates publicly. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just amazing. And so you can find censuses all the way up to like yesterday. I mean, it's just incredible. But then you and Netherlands is very open also. But then you go to Denmark, not so much.
Yeah.
So each country is very different.
Sonia Meza, who is a genealogist in Spain, told me that it was hard to do genealogy because culturally it was considered inappropriate. Yeah, I think that's changing over time. All right. So the terms of service are clarifying that ancestry requires valid law enforcement, legal orders, or warrants. And actually, that's covering ancestry from being sued from even a frivolous lawsuit. Like the confusion we are ironed out that, it isn't what's at ancestry that proves the case. It leads to a possibility of proving the case, but direct evidence is what's required. It isn't a preponderance of evidence in court, even though that's a legal term. It has to be very direct evidence. And in fact, that article from the New York Times talks about exonerating two brothers based on DNA evidence, direct evidence. And so, yeah. And Valerie says records are not only at ancestry. Now, beginning genealogists don't know about family search. They don't recognize that Scotland's people.gov.uk has ecclesiastical records and the wills and probate and census and military, all kinds of things. They were the first country to decide, let's just put everything up there for a price. But yeah. Anyway, yeah. I think the reason that people think Ancestry is the only place to go as beginners is because of the advertising on television and sponsoring things like different, like Who Do You Think You Are and different things. They're very good at advertising through regular mainstream media outlets. Any other comments before we go on?
I think the law enforcement thing is important. It's certainly, I think things in where I am are probably a lot more locked down with a lot of things, although there are things available. But you can't just go and get some things like that, just like that. You have to have enough information in order for them to issue you with something that's more recent. I think it's more open in the US than it is in the UK, believe it or not. It's
okay.
Even though we can get things through our indexes, you can get enough information if you know what you're looking for. But if you don't know what you're looking for, but I think it's important. I mean, I've read the book about the Golden State Killer, and obviously a lot of it, a lot of what was done at that time was done without thinking about the repercussion, what actually happened in the end is the repercussions of what they did, because something wasn't taken into consideration. And that's probably now people are seeing what's happened then, they're now getting a bit more cautious about doing things.
Yeah, I'm not faulting CC Moore. She is the standard bearer as far as, and she makes it clear, she's providing this body of information that law enforcement then they had to get, I think it was a discarded Dixie cup of something, like a Coke or something, and he discarded it, but law enforcement had been tailing the possible suspect until they could obtain something like that where there was DNA, and then they could make the match because they had DNA in the case file of the perpetrator. He just wasn't in CODIS or any of the normal criminal databases. Yeah, DNA. Yes, Cindy, this is important. DNA has also exonerated many people. Okay. All right. So I would like to share my screen now and totally shift gears and tell you about something I'm aware of. There is a new law here in the United States that took effect, I think, a year ago. I can't remember the exact date, a year ago, where items that belong to First Nation people or indigenous people are by law in the United States needing to be returned. And so entire sections of museums had to be closed down until the things were renegotiated with that tribe associated with it. And here is an example where in Canada, the Vatican has returned about 5 dozen items belonging to First Nation Inuit, and I don't know how to say Metis or Métis. These 62 culturally significant items that were held in the Vatican Museum are being returned, and that
Did we lost Myrt?
myself. There we go. I was briefly out of connection with you guys. Let me tell you what happened at the Burke Museum. Here at the University of Washington, the Burke Museum is known for having an extensive collection of artifacts and gathered information, history of the various indigenous tribes specific to the Pacific Northwest. There are a number of things, including something that Mr. Myrt and I just saw. We live on what the Samish people and the Coast Salish people would call Dog Island. That isn't the Samish name for it, that's the translation. Because historically, women would raise dogs, woolly dogs that had very long hair, maybe 5-6 inch long hair, to weave warm blankets. And the oldest known, woolly dog was his fur and everything was part of the Smithsonian exhibit. And right now it's at the Burke Museum in Seattle, Washington. These things, each item needs to be renegotiated with the tribe in question. So the Samish people, but they weren't the only ones that kept woolly dogs, would want to have access to this. Now, many of the articles that are at the Burke have already been renegotiated, and the indigenous tribe in question has said, you may keep this on loan. Like when you go to the National Gallery of Art, it's from the collection of J.D. Rockefeller or something like that. But the ownership belongs to the Rockefellers, or in the case of this woolly dog, it's not proven that it came from this island. And this isn't the only island where woolly dogs were kept. This island was peculiar in that woolly dog populations were kept in certain corrals, I guess, for lack of a better word, and women from the Samish tribe would come and spend 2 months at a time or 2 weeks at a time to do their community service of helping to raise these dogs so that they would not intermingle with wolves or other dogs, which would shorten the hair. They wanted purebred. And coming to this meeting the other day, there was a showing of a next to last edit of a film that's going to be showing at PBS probably next fall, where representatives from Nia Bay, from that indigenous tribe out there, can't remember it right now, several from Canada, they came to this presentation. They had already participated in contributing toward this film production. And we need, as careful citizens, to be respectful of those things. And I just thought it was wonderful that the Vatican is doing this. I mean, this law that Washington State recognizes and that our federal government recognizes is beyond the confines. It was of the U.S. government. Canada's agreed to it. I think every first world country has agreed to this, that the artifacts that have survived, they are precious and they don't belong to me. I'm just glad I got to go see this woolly dog and to understand the history of this area. Okay. Any comments there before we go on to the next topic on the docket? Okay. Where are we in our time? We got 10 minutes. Okay, we're going to do the lightning round. All right. I'm going to suggest that coming up, I know that it's Christmas time for our family traditions. For others, it's, Hanukkah's coming up, Kwanzaa, etc. In other words, there's going to be a gathering. And so this post over on Genealogy by Aaron, 208 questions to ask your families and members and friends. This is family history research. And I'd love to come across these kinds of lists about, you can get a starter guide. This is something, it's a free booklet, a gift from this poster, Aaron, over on Substack. So that's what that's about. And again, I'm giving you the brand recognition. This is her publication. And that's the booklet that you can get. And you click subscribe, and you have an option to be financially supportive or just her monthly public posts. You do not need to subscribe. And I'm glad they have this breakdown, because subscribe used to mean you paid for it. Like you subscribe to the New York Times, you have to pay for it. You subscribe to your any other publication, you had to pay for it. Thank you very much for sharing the post. I think that's Randy doing the links for us today. But I was already on the free plan. I'm just showing you about it, what it's like if you were to subscribe. And to tell you that subscribe doesn't have to mean money. Okay. What else is on the docket? Oh, and Bill is saying, Aaron, it's great. Yes. Part of that great group of genealogy writers over on Substack. Okay, what else have we got? I didn't recognize this about a genealogy bank. You may already know this. But of their newspaper collection, 95% of their newspapers are exclusive to them. So if you are not making progress, you can sign up for free, but to view things, you need to subscribe, and there is a fee. So if you're having trouble finding newspapers, look at that. Look at that as a possibility. Newspapers we think of them. What's the big newspaper collection over in the UK, Hillary? Is that the Guardian?
No, the British Newspaper Archive is, yes. And that's available on Find My Past. If you've got a subscription on there, you can see it there. Totally.
Thank you for that. All right. I think the Guardian is something British, but I could be wrong.
It is one of the newspapers, but it's not. The British Newspaper Archive has a lot of the historical.
You're right. See why I can't do this myself. That is for darn sure. There's also some big news from Reclaim the Records. I love that team, and I support that team financially. Wish that I could share more. What their most recent breakthrough has been with they love New York records. I'm sure that those of you who have people who passed away 1880 through 2017, they now have that index. Takes them a while. They're putting the records online. They're overcoming the reluctance on the part of the archivists to make these things available. Yeah. Oh, and back to our questions. This is cool. Any kind of deck of cards with ideas, questions to ask people. Yeah, that's a good idea. Broken Branches says, thank you. Check for Aaron's site. Going to look into it. There's the genealogy bank link. And here is the link to this post from Reclaim the Records. Okay, one more plug for Vivid-Pix. I did a post. Let me pull up Vivid-Pix somewhere. I have it. Oh, I can't find it. This is important. I need to find it, and I'm very upset about it. Could somebody go to Vivid-Pix and get their memory station link? And while you're doing that, I'll talk about this thing that Steve Little is doing. So I'm sharing my link to something that's the first of a series of new things. Let me zoom in here. Steve Little, who is the National Genealogical Society's AI guy, this is the first of a series. It's free. It's how AI is impacting genealogy, and it starts at 8 p.m. this coming Wednesday. This is Eastern time. And you need to register, and you have to have a Zoom account. Now, this is unusual. Usually Zoom, you don't need to have your own Zoom accounts to view something. But they're requiring that. And I want you to know that a free Zoom account is a free Zoom account. So if you don't happen to have one, get one. Then you can have a 45-minute free discussion with your family, including those that couldn't come to the Christmas Eve dinner because they had the flu or whatever. Yeah. Thank you. All right. I need to have the link in the private chat, please. Thank you. I highly recommend anything that Steve Little does. He's brilliant. I'll be there. I hope you will be there too. Okay. Can you give me that link, please? It's in comments, the Vivid-Pix link. This one. I need that so I can click on it. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Okay, no, that's not it. I need the vividpix.com. Thank you, Randy. Appreciate it. This is important to me that you get this. Normally, when you think of Vivid-Pix, you're thinking about the improvement, the Vivid-Pix Restore option. But they also have this ability to record and create a story that can be shared. Let me zoom in even more. And right now, they do sell the scanner, assuming you have a computer, etc. That is the memory station itself, this one, right? But the software is on sale right now for $99. And that includes the option to restore, record, and share the story. And they always pack way too much on one page. There's so much stuff. Right now, you can get it as at $99 instead of spending several $100s on it. In my Facebook post, I've given you the link. There's a certain password. I will post another. Let me go to Substack. I am sorry. Old Myrt forgot this one link, and yet this was supposedly very important to me. Come on, old Myrt. Let's get there. But we do all make mistakes, so we'll get there. Come on. Oh, I need my Mondays with Myrt link from Substack. I cannot get there from here. Why? All right, here's what I'll do. I will amend the description to this video with the link. You have to order it, but at the end before you pay, you have to use a certain word in order to get this at a very reasonable price. And I apologize because I don't have that up on my screen right now. I've wasted your time, and I try so hard not to do that. I will put the post in the description to this video, and you know that I will not get up from my chair until then, okay? All right. Anything else before we go that I've forgotten? I think somebody was reminding me we're taking a break until January 5th. Okay, so until then, I hope that you have fun interviewing your family members as you gather together. Frank, I hope you don't get sunburned at 53 degrees and sunny in Germany. I love my panelists. I appreciate Sean for being here today. We had a very lengthy conversation about dealing with the name that catalogers like to use at archives, be they online archives or physical archives, to organize how they file things and how we might use that locality reference from a document in our genealogy management program. Yeah, thank you for that post. Give me the link in the YouTube. Thank you. Here we go. Somebody wonderful has given us the link. Whoever did that, thank you, Randy. Whoever did, I don't know. Here's information about it, and here is the code FF2025. It's right there. Let me zoom in. Thank you. We get by with little help from our friends. Yeah. And here are some things from the photo detective about that software. And yeah, and from Tammy Mize, founder of Conference Keeper from the National Genealogical Society. And this is why this is Rick from Vivid-Pix. Older adults, storytellers, and family historians relive cherished memories with these even household items, not just photos and music, to connect and share memories with loved ones. This is the kicker, that he and his team, including physicians who understand what happens to our brains when we are reliving cherished memories. The importance of photos and these kinds of activities actually nurture brain health. Cognitive improvement can occur, and it gives us a way to communicate with some of our family members who are at the stage of their life where they have some cognitive impairments. Some of us can recognize exactly what time period our ancestors living family members rather can still recall, and are sometimes seeing that diminish over time. I recognize that with our beloved stepmother, but they took that research, that medical research, that neurological research, and they figured out a solution to attaching the scanned image of a photo or that a household item or some music that you might be recording, so that you can use it in the conversation to have a good outcome. You know, music really is a universal language. Anyway, nothing left to say, but thank you to the panelists. Thank you, everybody, for being with us this year. See you next year. Happy family tree climbing. That's a wrap.